This is Bay Radio.
Where do we start, really? The markets yesterday morning were up by 2%. They are again this morning. I've just looked, the FTSE's up. But then yesterday they went back down again. Obviously, last week we saw the biggest fall since the financial crisis of 2007, 2008. It was about 10%. Most shares fell. I don't think there was anything that was exempt from the fall.
No.
You know, there wasn't one area, one region that did really well. I haven't looked at pharmaceuticals, actually. I would be surprised if they fell, because obviously there's a demand now for hand sanitisers. They're looking for a vaccine. You know, people are buying masks. You can't get masks anywhere.
I know, extraordinary. Even just those old builders ones, the little paper things, people stick those on.
Yeah, but they're not meant to help, are they?
Not really. It's just to keep, if you're sneezing and coughing, then...
Yeah, it's really, the main thing is just normal hygiene, just washing your hands, being careful touching handles. I must admit, before I came out, I did see the Mayor of London on the telly, and he was saying, oh, there's no problem travelling on the tube. Oh my God, if ever there is a germ place to catch it from, is the tube. Have you ever been on the Central Line when you can't even move?
Yeah.
Because you're so squashed nose to nose. All you need is one person on there to have it, and the whole tube train would have it. It's horrendous on there. But I was reading, apparently this virus can't survive above 28 degrees.
Oh.
So once we get to the summer, we're okay. But obviously in the UK, for those of you listening in the UK, tough, because your temperature never really gets above 28 degrees, does it? So
very rarely, yeah.
So very rarely. So, yeah, it's impacted all the markets. And what we're going to see, I think, is rate cuts across the world. We're expecting Australia to cut their rates today.
Oh.
We're expecting the Fed to announce 3 rate cuts, one maybe later this month, one in June and one later in the year. We're expecting the UK to cut rates at the end of March when they have their meeting. So for savers, that is very, very bad news, because saving accounts, as you know, have been paying absolutely zero or just above zero. In the EU, they're paying negative interest rates, and that's just going to take it down even more. Obviously for borrowers, it's a plus side. Your mortgage rate may come down even more. If you're going to get loans, they should fall. However, that's encouraging people to take on debt, which could lead to a credit crisis. So I think they're waiting for governments. They were hoping governments will intervene and do something. But it's not really like the 2007-2008, where there was a problem with the finance houses globally. This is caused by fear-mongering and panic over a virus, a flu that is no worse than a normal annual flu. So we'll have to wait and see. It seems to have stabilised in China. Obviously, there's a few more cases in Europe. But if you look at the statistics, the main people dying are those that have underlying health conditions, old and infirmed. And I would say if you are in those categories, just be careful who you come into contact with. Don't go to large gatherings. You know, if you go to supermarkets, if you touch a trolley handle, I would sanitise your hands, because God knows what germs are on those trolley handles. But really, for most people, it's just really take normal precautions as you would if there's a flu epidemic. If there's a bad flu epidemic, you're not going to go near someone who's got it, because even if you are fit, you don't want to get the flu. But for most people, it just causes mild symptoms, sore throat and a runny nose. It's the vulnerable that we've got to be careful with. And all these talks on the telly, it was saying in the UK they need to buy millions and millions of ventilators to help all the people. No, all they've got to look after is the elderly, their infirmed, and those who are vulnerable. And the thing that worries me is in the US, you don't have a national health service. So you've got the lower income individuals, or those that aren't working, that don't have any health care. And that's what's worrying me. If you get this virus within those people, obviously it's going to be easily spread, and they can't get treatment. So that's where you could see it spiral out of control. But hopefully the US will take this into consideration and do something about it. Regarding the markets, one of the chief economists from Goldman Sachs said that it thought that this was going to be short-lived, the market contraction, and that then it would start to rise again, except instead of a sharp V, so it's come down and goes back up, they expect it to be more of a U, so to bottom out and bumble along as it is now, 6.5 or under. It could go down to 6 and then slowly start to increase as summer comes. Hopefully, as with normal flu, you'll see a drop in cases because of the rise in temperature, and but it's affecting everything. If you look at airlines,
Oh, yeah.
Look, British Airways, EasyJet, Ryanair, they're all cancelling flights. They're issuing profits warnings. Holiday companies.
Exactly, yeah. The
And
two
look at
going
the
hand in
impact
hand.
it could have on economies like Spain, which has a huge tourist industry, France, America, even the UK. So I think they do need to tone it down on the TV. I think the TV is trying to find a role for itself within society, and so they're feeding on this. They're fear-mongering, they're trying to create news where there is no news, and I think that needs to be controlled in a certain way because they're having a huge economic impact of daily people's lives, restaurants, bars, music events, everything.
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing here is we keep you up to date. Obviously, we say there's this number of cases on the Canaries in the Valencian community, but always signing off with don't panic. This is the thing, just wash your hands.
Yeah.
We put a little poster up from the World Health Organization. It's the basic stuff of keep your hands clean and
don't panic, and
sneeze and don't spit.
Yeah, and that's the same for the markets. Don't panic.
I did see a chart, I think it was just this morning. Overall, it was the Dow, I think.
Yeah.
But all these events like bombings and that sort of thing, but it ends up, it's always bounced back and it's always gone up.
It always has gone
However
up.
However short term it could be, it's in the end, if you're looking long term with your investments.
Investments are always medium to long term, unless you're a trader and you're going to do it on a daily basis and you're trading, basically watching the screens 24 hours a day. You're always investing for the medium to long term. And only when you're going to take your money out do you have to worry about time in the market. Like if you were going to take money out, I had some clients in the other day who were thinking of taking some money out of a bond or closing it down to finance something. And even they agreed it's best to wait because the market will bounce back. Why consolidate a loss of 10% when you could wait a few months and it will come back up? And the whole thing is, the only people who lose out in times like this are people who panic. In 2007, 2008, the people that lost out were the people that panicked and sold as it was going down or as it was a bottom. The people who won were the people that held on or the people who bought when it was at the bottom, had surplus cash. So please, this, as you were saying, it happens time after time. It's cyclical, and if you look going back hundreds of years, we could say over 100 years now, the market always bounces back. So I'd say sit tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride. There are going to be some more downs as well as ups. It may just stay around these 6.5 instead of 7.7 for a while, but we know it can reach 7.7 or above, and it will eventually go back up, because if you look at the economics of most countries, although they have been impacted by this, it's not too bad.
No, it is hard to sit tight when your investments are dropping, but it's like my
mindset,
pension.
I'm looking at it thinking,
but what can you do?
It's a good thing I'm not near retirement age just yet. But but even if you have got a pension, pension companies are being affected, but you can still take your money out. You've still got to have your income. You've still got to live. And if you don't live for today, you don't know if tomorrow's going to be here. So you might as well make the most of it as well you can. As I was saying, just don't panic and sell off a whole portfolio or sell off a whole fund, etc. Because you are then just crystallising that loss, and you're going to have a long way to come back up again.
Yes, and you'll sit there and think, in a few months' time, perhaps.
Kick yourself.
I should have hung on to that.
2007, 2008, everyone was kicking themselves, apart from some of those that bought property funds, which never really recovered because they were liquid assets and they couldn't be sold in time. But if you have a diversified portfolio, obviously at the moment everything is down. Even gold went down yesterday.
Wow.
It went under 1,600. Oil's gone down. So it's affecting everything globally. So just sit tight.
So I guess we're open for business in London. FTSE 100 at 6,774 at the moment.
Isn't it? Is it up 2 or 3%?
We're up 1.8% so far today. Yeah.
Let me just have a look. Oh, that's what I have. Yours is a little bit too late. It's 2.25 up.
Oh.
And you've got the IBEX, which is up 2%, and obviously the Dow Jones closed up last night. And European stock markets were affected more than the FTSE yesterday. The DAX, the IBEX and the Euro stock were down slightly more. As I said, it's globally, it's not confined to one market, one sector.
But all in plus figures so far this morning. Excuse me, I'll just hit F5 a few times and get the very latest, and we'll talk some more to Christina in just a moment here from Blacktower Financial Management. This is Bay Radio. Talked about the stock markets. We didn't mention the currency markets because,
I know,
boy, that's dropped a little bit.
It has. You're happy.
Well, it worked out well on time for my end of the month payment into a UK account. However piffling an amount it is, but 115 is all for the euro to sterling at the moment.
Drop. It was nearly went up to 120, didn't it? It was 120. Obviously, that will bounce back. I think also. Sterling is being affected by Brexit. The EU and UK talks obviously are going nowhere at the moment. France is trying to play hardball over us, giving them rights to our fishing waters and God knows what else. And if I was Boris, I'd just slap them. Just slap them. Just when they come near, you're not allowed to kiss them on both cheeks now. You're not allowed to shake hands. Just slap them round the face and say, wake up. The UK doesn't actually need you. We can do well without you. Why should we give them access to our fishing waters? They've had it for long enough. We should allow our fishing fleet to grow again. But we'll have to see what happens on that. Obviously, they're meant to sort things out. Is it by June? They're meant to have some sort of agreement in place? I
don't know. It started in this week, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's going to be very tricky because no one's talking to anyone. And obviously, they've got their own problems. You've got Germany. Obviously, Merkel has problems. Her party's losing all its popularity. You've got Germany on the verge of recession. You've still got all the riots in France still. They've tried to pass through the pension reforms without going to Parliament. And you've got Italy, which economy has been absolutely clobbered by the coronavirus. It had enough problems before. So Italy has been clobbered even more. So Europe really isn't in a happy place. And you've got 4 countries which are refusing to plug the hole that the UK has left. Denmark, Sweden, Belgium, and I can never remember the other one. But anyway, they've refused, Austria. They've refused to plug the hole. So the EU's got a lot of internal problems. It's got Brexit coming up. You've even got in France now, they're talking about Frexit. Even there's been mutterings in the press in Spain about Spain coming out of the EU. So
I can't see that. They're very central Europe.
But if you think Spain has got a lot of money out of the EU, now it's not going to Spain anymore, it's going to Eastern European countries that are joining. So if Spain were going to pull out, it's got all the money out of the EU. It's not losing anything.
But Spain, of all countries, they're very sort of keen on the whole centralising.
But Germany and France did ask Spain to become one of the main 3 parties involved in.
Oh yeah,
and they refused,
and they said
no. So let's wait and see what happens there. But sterling should be stronger if you bear in mind what's happening in Europe. So sterling should be at least 120, if not 130. I'd say 140. I'd like. But let's see. Obviously, coronavirus has affected everybody, which is not good. It's affected Apple.
Yeah, affecting things in the business world.
Yeah.
So, even Twitter saying their staff are to work from home, but things like that you can work from home.
Yeah, you can, but something you can't if you're a nurse, if you're a fireman, if you're a teacher. Yeah, but Apple iPads, Apple phones, obviously there's going to be in short supply. Headphones for something called Facebook VR, I've never heard of it, but that's going to be in short supply. Anything that really is made in China, laptops, etc.
Yeah, the iPhone thing. It's how many people are buying them at once? Because you've got one now. You don't need to, not everyone's an early adopter.
No,
you don't have to have the latest
like mine,
one.
I don't even know what version it is. I got it from my daughter. I'm not, as long as it works and it takes messages.
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
but it's a staggering thing how many you sell every day. Still, hasn't everyone got a phone already?
I think, especially the youngsters. Am
I talking like shoes? You've already got a pair of shoes. What do you need another pair for?
Yeah, the youngsters nowadays look at their trainers. They have like 500 pairs of trainers. They're never going to wear them. Phones, latest version.
I suppose so.
Latest this, latest that. They're a consumer society. And all this about, global warming, ruining the economy. It's the youngsters that are doing it with all their things for new gadgets. How many shoes can they have? How many clothes can they have? Most of these are made in the third world by people who earn a pittance, and it's destroying those countries. So I think if you're going to talk about global warming, the effect on the economy, you need to rein in spending of the younger generation and their reliance on plastic goods and all these goods that are throwaway goods. When we were growing up, we didn't throw away anything. It went down to your brother, sister till you had holes in them, and then they were used for something else. So there's lots going on. Obviously, Direct Line have been impacted by the floods in the UK.
Yes, I did see that. The chairman stepping down is the latest. 35
million hit. Usually their average is about 60 million a year. We're only into February. It's already at 35. It's going to go even higher. I think in the UK, as we've heard on the radio, they have got to stop building on floodplains. Most of the houses that have flooded were built on floodplains. And I think you will find that insurance companies are now going to stop insuring houses that are on floodplains, that are by the sea. So people are going to have to be very wary where they buy. And I think if you do buy a property, you need to do research, no matter where you buy in the world, as to what you are buying, where is it positioned, what is likely to happen to it, and be a bit more careful.
Yeah, I did see if there's always someone going to benefit. As you said, some of the you don't know pharmaceutical companies, but hand sanitizer sales rising 255% last month.
I know. So if you've got shares in hand sanitizers, whoop.
Yeah, well played. So
but you can't go on holiday because you've got coronavirus.
No, don't just yet. Do the bumping elbows thing as well.
Yeah.
It's not even fist bumping now. You do that. But we'll talk some more in just a moment. Some news on pensions next here with Christina from Blacktower. You're right, it cheers everybody up this. It's Bob Marley and the Wailers, Three Little Birds. Don't worry about a thing. It seems to be the general advice. Certainly don't panic.
Yeah, don't panic
with what we're doing at the moment.
About coronavirus or the markets. As I was saying, the FTSE is now up at 6.8.
Oh, it's, going up again.
And even the DAX is up, everything.
Yeah.
So let's wait and see.
Yesterday morning, it's always interesting when there's something going on because it's like the markets are waiting to open. So you get the Asian markets overnight.
And
London's geared up to open and suddenly it opens up 3% or something.
And then at lunchtime, you've got the US. It's just 24-hour trading, isn't it?
Yeah. But let's get on to, we wanted to talk about pensions because this is of particular interest, of course.
Yeah,
to
there was something in the papers the other day. Obviously, I've got an itchy nose because of this pollen outside, so it's affecting my hay fever. So, obviously we've got the budget coming up in the UK, and it looks like they're going to be raising the pension age again. A little known fact is that when George Osborne put in the Pension Freedoms Act, he did say that he was going to raise the retirement age from 55 to 57. Now, only a few years ago it was 50, then it went to 55, and George Osborne was saying by 2028 it should be at least 57. So that would mean for your private pensions, for your final salary pensions, for anything, you would not be able to access them before you were 57. If they're in the UK, it would mean you wouldn't be able to take your tax-free lump sum till 57, and there is even talk of them getting rid of you having a tax-free lump sum. What they're saying is that there should be a minimum of 10 years between state pension age and the age you can take your private or personal pensions. Obviously, that's raising to 67, so therefore they're saying they have to rise the private pension age to 57. They're talking about raising state pension to 70, so it looks like they're expecting people to work longer and longer. However, then they complain that older people are working and younger people can't get jobs. Well, if you're not giving them the opportunity to get their pension to retire, you're keeping them in the workforce, because how else are they going to survive? So people do need to look at this. There will hopefully be an announcement by the new Chancellor in the next budget. But George Osborne did say by 2028 they're thinking of bringing that forward. I don't know to when. So that's something people have to bear in mind as well. If you're planning to retire at 55, maybe you won't be able to. Maybe you'll have to wait another 2 years or another 3 years, depending on the government. So that's why you need to have, when you invest, not only a pension, but I would say investments to go alongside it, because investments you can access at any time throughout your life, whereas pensions are restricted.
Yep, so that's the latest. When you say the Chancellor and his new budget, or the new Chancellor, can you name him?
No, I can't.
Okay.
Can you?
It's Rishi Sunak, but I did have to look it up. I did. It did come up before. But,
I do know who it is, but I just can't. I'm not very good at pronouncing the name, and I wasn't going to make myself look.
No, that's fair enough. But it was when you're talking about George Osborne, it seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
That was a long time ago.
But all that stuff coming through now, and always good to touch on pension stuff because that's particularly pertinent. I would think it's a bit like Big Brother. You're getting used to the cameras being. You just don't even know it's there now.
I'm pretending it's not there.
Yeah, looking the other way. You can't escape that wide-angle lens, I'm afraid.
Oh my God!
So just sort of wrapping up, really? Anything?
Wrapping up, people don't panic. Stock market seems to be coming up. We're 6.8, above that actually. Maybe you hit 6.9. But if you do have any questions or any queries, just get in touch. For all this turmoil, there's only been one client that's actually phoned me. I've got over 200 to say, do we need to panic? And I explained about the markets. They were very, very happy. So please, if you've got any worries, just get in touch. If you need any advice on pensions, savings, investments, or anything to do with finance in general, we are here to help you.
I was going to ask if anyone had been in touch, panicking or asking whether they should panic.
They were just saying, what's your view on the market? And I said, well, you're in there, stay. The markets will bounce back. And they were just asking if they still had any growth left in their portfolio, which they did. They had a good buffer for when they set it up. So that was okay. I think because they wanted to take income. But that's what we're here for, to reassure people, to help people through difficult times as well as good times.
Sure.
And that's our job. And if you do need any advice, if you just get in touch, the best email is info@blacktowerfm, that stands for financialmanagement.com, or you can always always phone the office. That is 965058212. Or if you can't remember any of that, just studio@bayradio.fm and they will pass them on. And it's not for Spain. Blacktower cover the whole of Europe, America, the UK. So if you are listening in any other country and you want any advice, you can always email info@blacktowerfm.com, put the attention of Christina. It will then come straight through to me. I can then someone will phone you from my office, myself or someone else, find out what you need, and then we'll put you in touch with the most appropriate person for you. We've got various expertise within the team, within the group, and we can always help you. So yes, so if you've got any needs at all, please get in touch.
I should have asked you this before you wrapped up beautifully there. You do it so much better than I can. But I think I've asked before, but a long time ago, where do you start? I know we don't need to go into too much detail, but someone says, like, I've come into 50 grand I've inherited. Where do I start with you?
Oh, it's very difficult. What we do is we do a fact finder and a risk profiler to find out all about you. And then we find out what you want to do with that money, what you need that money for. Because some people will inherit 50,000 and of that they want to go on a cruise, they want to do this, that and the other. You always need to have a cash contingency fund. So you will work through and you will come to you will talk to them and you'll understand what their needs and wants are, and then you'll say, right, of X amount, maybe you should only invest this. You want low risk, go for this product. You want medium risk here, and you work through it with them. We put together a report with all supporting documentation, which most people take away and read, and ask them to come back with as many questions as possible. Some people come back with lots, some people a few, just to make sure they've read it, and only when they're happy do then we sit down and actually do business. There's no hard sell, there's no pressurise. People take their time. I had someone contact me the other day who I'd seen 4 years ago. They'd come over to Spain, were thinking of moving here. I told them about how Spain worked, given them some advice. They've now come back, sold their house in the UK and done an investment.
Oh, well done. Okay. So it's but
it's a long-term view.
Yeah, and you're probably very good at when they come in, you suss them out immediately. Or is this a risk assessment, it's called, isn't it?
Yeah, you can usually tell
how conservative they are. Yeah, quite.
From talking to people, you can usually get an idea straight away.
All right. Well, if you have, as I say, if you're in that situation, maybe worth having a chat. Get in touch, as we've mentioned, blacktowerfm.com, though, with all the details of where the offices are and for contact
Thank you very
details.
Much indeed.
Thank you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you
Christina
for
back then.
me.
And with my new video editing skills, I'll put that bit earlier in the conversation. And it'll hopefully be on our website to see very soon then.